Live. Well, not live, recording. Wonderful topic here, man. Brought to you by Brother Five here, man. We got a special show. Kind of mixing the urban spices together here. You know what I'm saying? A little Dyson Daniels versus Herb Jones. If you've been around, if you've been watching, you've been seeing us kind of talk about, me and Justin get into it about Herb Jones versus Dyson Daniels. It's been little bit of a back and forth, the verses of sorts. Me and Five gonna bring it all together. Let's get into it.
First took away. Dance with this. Get your money's worth now.
Welcome to an episode here of Propels Talk, brought to you by. We got Crystal, we got Crystal Hot Sauce, we got DraftKings Sportsbook, we got Company Burger, we got Birdsall Law Firm. I mean, we got it all. Did I miss anything, Five?
Nah, man, Birdsall Law Firm. Shout out to them, man. The dude that's one of the lawyer, I think he owns it. I see him at the gym all the time. Like, dap me up, like the coolest dude. I'm like, oh, all right, man. Like this, yeah. I'm glad y'all the sponsor. I'm like, yeah, this is hard.
So I'm gonna let Five kind of take the way here. I mean, we'll take the lead. This was his idea. I mean, I'm sure the portion that you saw the show that I did on Dyson Daniels, kind of a preview thing after the preseason. We've seen the preseason that Herb Jones has had. And if you've watched this particular show, specifically on Sundays, you've seen me and Justin get into it consistently. And last night was actually Ross about Herb Jones, but a little spirited debate never hurt anybody.
So yeah. No, I think this is the. It's like we. There shouldn't be two sides to this. I understand like how you could have two sides when they both, similarly play the same position, similar skill sets. One can do better at some things than the other. Um, I think they should just really learn from each other rather than, fandom kind of pull them apart. Um, I think this team is better when you have both of them on the floor at the same time. It's really like the most Louisiana thing you could think of. A guy named Herb and a guy named Dyson that has a nickname Dice Spice. I don't want to really even say the Dice Spice part, but Spice, like herbs and spices go together. They go together. Call Popeyes. They use like 14 or 15 of the things. So like we need to use those two players together. And I think you'll get a beautiful mix of, defense and being almost a secondary playmakers to, finishing at the rim or even playing small ball 4 and 5. Like these guys are basketball players. Like they have a unique skill set. And I think they really should just really learn from each other. And I think that's what if I were you, Chris, like what would be the things Dyson can learn from Herb to benefit his game?
Man, that's a great question. So I think um the first thing he could learn is just, is knowing when it's his time to attack. Like Herb picks his spots really well, but not only does Herb pick spots, Herb picks games. You know what I'm saying? Like he picks we've seen moments where he just knew it was his game. Which is how you end up getting, what was it, 36 or close to 40, 40-point performances. He's had a bunch of other really good games against the Nuggets, for example. Last year, I believe it was the Grizzlies. But just knowing, like, yo, even if the offense is necessarily running through me, I have an advantage here. During that playoff run, in the series against the Suns, knowing, okay, they have Chris Paul on me. Well, I would have wanted him to attack a little bit more, knowing that that's an advantage and to use it, even if it means ad-libbing a little bit. Um, so Herb's ability as a cutter to be able to create opportunities to get the basketball, just being able to know that, it's clear where you're at in the hierarchy, and you're not going to have, really any plays drawing up for you on a consistent basis. The other ways to get the basketball and to be effective. And I think Dyson has some of them already. But now I think using one thing that Herb will end up doing is the attempt, not being afraid of failing, whether it means I shoot 7 threes in a row and they all miss, still knowing I gotta shoot the next one. It's why I'm here.
And to even rebuttal off that, I think Herb should learn like the ability to rebound the ball like Dyson does on the defensive end, right? Like if Herb's a better rebounder, that opens up a lot one for his game, but it opens up everything for Brandon and Zion and maybe even CJ. They're trying to get up more shots, right? More corner threes. I think that's the emphasis, right? If he rebounds the ball better, it makes everything better. I mean, especially with these small lineups, you want to use Herb at the either at the 1 or even at the 5. If he's able to rebound at the 5 in those positions, like you don't have to play Jonas, or you don't have to play Larry. I mean, or let's say you don't not say don't play them, but you don't have to play them as much. And maybe Larry's a little bit healthier at the end of the season rather than being worn down. Um, if he learns that, I think that helps the team. One with health and more so rotational players. Um, Dyson has this unique ability. One, I think he's like super strong. Like not like I don't think he's like in a weight room, but I think like he has a build of somebody like, all right, I can move with certain guys. I can play down low if I need to, and still be able to elevate and play above the rim. I just wish he transitions that to the offensive end, right? Just take those same abilities and just switch it over. And I think that's the confidence. Like I just want to breathe confidence into this man. Like, yo, you can play basketball. Like I don't know why you don't think so, but we can see it on one end of the floor. It's not football. You got to play both ends here.
So I think to your point about Herb as a rebounder, I, the importance in that is knowing that how much of a weapon that turns him into. It's just the acknowledgement of that, and you talk about it all the time. We have shows about how man, being able to grab the rebound and being a threat in transition alone is something that it's an underrated skill and factor in a lot of different points that end up happening. It's what makes Russell Westbrook even to this day as great as he is, right? It's what makes a guy like De'Aaron Fox so special. Like it makes these guys. It enhances different parts of their game because they're already threats even without the basketball when they step on the floor. Well, in Herb's case, he's an afterthought in the defense's mind, and like he's an afterthought. They have others when this team is healthy, or sometimes even if they're missing one guy, he's an afterthought. But one of the things that we've seen enough of in his short time here in New Orleans is Herb is a transition threat. We've seen him make plays in transition, whether it's catching a pass, euro stepping, getting to the free throw line, connecting. We've seen a couple dunks, but how about we see more of being able to rebound the ball at its highest point, like Dyson Daniels, and going, just simply going. And you can put some of those point guard skills that we talked about to play even more, whether he decides to make a play for other or he finishes at the rack, which we know that he can do specifically when he's going downhill.
To piggyback off that, the point guard skills. Dyson has like this ability. It's the Lonzo Ball esque pass, right? Like this, I can see up the floor. Also, it's the hockey assist that he has. I like the fact that like on the offensive end, it's almost like he wants to pass first, and I totally get that. But like he knows where the ball is supposed to go. Like
Yes.
you'll instinctively like swing, swing. Oh, they're gonna jump the corner pass, but yeah, he's throwing a dime to somebody under the rim because they've overplayed it. But he knows it instinctively. Like Herb, I'm sorry, I don't think Herb's just gonna magically one day like have the skill. No, I think either you have it or you don't, and he already has it, which makes me always just want to be like, just hoop, brother, just hoop. You have the skills. You can do all of this. Go. I think with Dyson's like, I don't care if you miss. Like, think, just don't care about it. Don't care about it because I think that kills you. Like Michael Jordan famously said, you only can do one or two things when shooting a basketball. Either you're gonna miss it, you're gonna make it. That's it. Ain't nobody gonna die. Ain't nobody gonna do nothing like that.
Yeah.
Just either you miss or you make. And I think he's had those instances where the misses just eat him alive. That
Mhm.
eat him alive, and he can't like bounce back from them. He has the skills. He has the mental capability. We just want to see it on a consistent basis from a young guy that can really play basketball. I don't know, Chris. I don't know if you froze or I froze. All right. Well, that's been this episode of Propels Talk. My guy Chris may
No,
have. Oh, we here?
Okay, I'm about to say I was back and I was gone. Internet acting a little
All right,
crazy over
cool, 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 cool. We're gonna keep it going. But yeah,
there. Yeah, man. I mean, so like one of the things that I like that Dyson does, right? He has and see what I'm curious about. Last year he ran into moments where he looked, let's call it what it was. He looked intimidated. Certain times on the floor, he looked like he just was intimidated on the floor. He didn't want to be the one that had to make the decision. Um, and what I'm curious to know, and what I would want when he confides in people, was that injury related? Was that him not feeling comfortable after dealing with ankle issues throughout the year? Was playing against strictly NBA talent? That maybe some guys he was playing had more of an aggressive nature. The thing about sports, bro, it's like dogs, bro. They smell fear. They can see it, which is why you saw later in the year people would press Dyson in the backcourt to want to make him give the basketball up. The difference that wasn't a thing with Herb. You maybe could try to force Herb into shooting a three, or at a certain period of time. You could maybe, but you weren't forcing, you weren't scaring or intimidating Herb. Like, I mean, and that hasn't been a thing since he entered the league. Now, is it slightly an age thing? While Dyson has been playing some sort of professional basketball a little bit longer than Herb was before he arrived. He arrived at 19 years old, so at that point you're still a kid. Everybody isn't made mentally or internally in that way. I mean, I personally feel like whether Herb was 23 when he came in the league or 19, I feel like that same stoic demeanor, like I'm just out here hooping and I know what I'm good at, was going to be the same. I'm curious. We keep talking about confidence. I think once Herb fixed his woes, even when he didn't, he worked so hard. He wasn't afraid of failing. That's going to be very, very important, and that's something that Dyson can take from Herb as well. Like, hey, it's okay. It's okay to miss. And now that you know that your minutes will more than likely be guaranteed, you're going to play every night. You should play over 20 minutes a night. You have no reason not to go out there and make the plays that are available. Because of number one, number 14, and number three out there, you're gonna have more than enough opportunities.
I I think that's the most important thing for him, right? The ability to play and just be free, bro. Just be free. I think that's a huge, you know, plus for somebody that young, like trying to get acclimated. You didn't had an injury that slowed you down. I think his momentum at that time, right before the injury, was like trending up. Like, right, he was having multiple. He can get rebounds like no other at times, right? Like it was at one point. I think he might have been playing like the game. He might have had like 15 minutes or so. He might have ended up with like 11 rebounds. Like what? Like these things are. Although I don't like analytics all the time. I think like Dyson is this analytic darling at times. He has a specific skill set, and I think you alluded to this on the show, like that other players don't want to do, but he's really good at them, and that can get you paid in a league like this. Being specialists, him and Herb being like trending upwards of being better shooters, they have a specific skill set that will be useful to them. They can play basketball for a very long time. I just don't want it to get to a point where like they're sulking on their wounds, or they get to a point where I don't feel confident enough to do this. Like who is instilling the confidence in these young guys to become better basketball players? That's my pushback. That is my pain point for these two guys that are really special in their own. But I think about these two playing at the exact same time. If you can play both of them at the same time, I think like say a secondary unit against the Kings second unit, or
Yeah.
the Suns second unit, bro. They could really do major damage if CJ Brandon or Zion, one of them, are out there with them. I think they could be very useful in that.
Well, I mean, I think about that last Orlando game for example. There were moments where they were on the floor together, and the communication, not just the communication defensively, but the instincts and the way that they pass defender or pass the offensive players over. right? As the ball moved through screens, so on and so forth, it was like it was a dance. And those two, the way that they move, their balance, I think they're both very strong, even if they don't look physically intimidating. We got a chance to see Drew Holiday for a long time,
Yeah.
and when because I watched him for so long, when I think of players that are like that, they don't look extremely strong, but you can tell balance from from top to bottom. Like those two guys, I look at them and I see, man, like it reminds Drew Holiday is the first person that I think of. But now you're talking about having both of these guys on the floor, and not only are you talking about what they can do on ball, right? You're talking about what they can do off ball, which means you should have less.
Chris, I think you were making this amazing point, and as you're possibly frozen, um, that's the trick part, right? Is these two guys on the court. Are you back? You good?
Yeah, man. Yeah,
All right, bro.
I'm
It
here.
happens.
Go ahead.
I don't know. I just think I think the point you were trying to make is these two guys that are right 6'7", 6'8" ish, right, and they both can play on. That is scary, bro. All right, you trying to get Drew Holiday off you, and then the other guard is like Tyreek Evans or something like that. All right, cool. I could deal with that. But you go from Herb, and then you get Dyson. You're probably looking for another switch because it won't be as easy as you think it is. I know they don't have like this Tony Allen, Pat Bev demeanor, so it doesn't like, oh, they want to play like, no. It's like a stoic, yeah, okay, you think it's sweet over here because I ain't talking that much. Nah, brother, it's gonna be a long night trying to deal with
Yeah,
me. And having those two on the floor at the same time, bro, I would be pissed if I'm the opposing guard. Because you're
it
not getting your way.
it's so much flexibility, I think, defensively, and that's why, right? If you know, on the other side of the ball, if Dyson's aggression even matches Herb, you don't have to worry about that. Then the defensive possibilities are endless, bro. Because on one side you can have um, Dyson pressing, right? A full court. I've been seeing a little bit more of that of him picking up ball handlers. Or what happens if I don't know if Jose gets healthy and Jose's out there? So you have that ability of him being annoying and being a pest, and you have the instincts of Herb and Dyson to be able to jump lanes or knowing even doing in Herb's Ed Reed is as type of plays in which he's making rotations defensively that he's not the average person is not supposed to see, but he knows exactly where to be. And more than anything, the ability to create turnovers. One thing about Herb and one thing about Dyson, whether it's blocking shots, whether it's getting steals, they're going to do it. And sometimes they'll do it in unorthodox ways. That's special. And if you get Zion engaged, if you get the dude that was like, I mean, it's so much potential, man.
Bro, I think defense is like this contagious attribute of basketball. Like one person can do it. Once you get two, it's like, oh, like we gotta play because they playing. So if we not playing, they gonna make us look bad. Like it's like, oh, they getting a steal, and it's like you don't have to worry about offense. You don't have to worry about sets. You can just worry about playing defense, get easy basket. And I think Willie Green alluded to that. Even today, is just getting out in transition, getting out and running lanes. Like that's basketball. That's the beauty of it. That's when plays are made. That's when runs are made. Right when you can get stops, get rebounds, get out in the open floor, run, possibly get a layup or shoot corner threes. That's the beauty of basketball. That's what the Warriors have been doing for like, the last decade. Just being able to beat people. One, I know people see the shot Steph shoots, but defensively, that was like a really good basketball team. They were top five in defensive efficiency and had a top five offense. Pelicans, you're right there. And you're adding hopefully a healthy Zion, healthy Brandon, healthy CJ. I I assume you could be a top 10 offense and a top 10 defense.
I mean, I think about it even. It was crazy. I didn't think about them playing as a duo as often until you mentioned it. And I think about like Wednesday now, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
Against Memphis. Larry isn't Larry,
Mm-hmm.
right? The Grizzlies don't have Steven Adams, so Jaren Jackson, you're probably going to be looking at a lot of Jaren Jackson at the 5 minutes. You'll be looking at some Xavier Tillman of sorts, but there will be moments where Memphis will be looking to exploit Jonas or whatever, you might see Cody Zeller, whatever the case may be. They're going to be looking to take advantage of that matchup. Well, the first thing I think of is to take care of that space, take care of that option. I'd like to see some Herb at the 5 minutes, but the person that possibly helps that the most is Dyson Daniels, because if you're able to put Herb at the 5, and let's say Herb is rebounding, and we know what Dyson's going to bring you for a rebounding perspective, how many times we say Herb can't guard everybody? So if you're able to have Herb play, pretty much be your back line, and you have him being able to guard a center like Jaren Jackson, who's not a good rebounder in his own right, either, and you can have Dyson guarding the best perimeter player. I mean, like, imagine we talk about pick and rolls. We talk about pick and rolls with Brandon and Zion. Well, you get the opposite of that with Dyson and Herb being, defending pick and rolls. That's scary, but it's fun as hell to think about the pressure that it takes off of the other guys that are off ball, who get to maybe freelance a little bit more or rest and take a few plays off, as we know certain guys like to do.
And I think that's key, right? Like, you look at a guy like Jaren Jackson Jr. that doesn't necessarily get most of his points in the paint, right? He wants to shoot more jumpers. Well, that works for Herb. Like, it's not like you got to defend. Like, he's not trying to, labor you. No. Okay, you want to shoot that? Cool. And you can switch to pick and roll, so it won't be a pick and pop as easy. Now, he does pass the ball really well, decently. I think it works. I think, like, against teams like this, I think about, like, Houston. I think about possibly San Antonio, but they're a little tall now. I think about, this division. You think about the West. Like, you got to be able to beat people in different ways. It can't be the same way every time. So imagine having those guys out there and being able to switch and be free, because it's gonna be a competitive game. Like, Memphis isn't just gonna lay down. They got Marcus Smart now. They kind of revamping what they want to do. They got even though they got rid of, what's the point guard from Duke? Oh my God, it's gonna Tyus Jones. So they don't have him anymore. It's gonna look a little different, but in a sense of somewhat of the same team. They don't have Steven Adams out. You can get a win in Memphis if you play it a certain way.
Listen, I 100% agree. I'll say this, man, as we as we close. I think guys like Herb Jones and Dyson Daniels, on any team that wins a championship, there's somebody with that kind of mental and sacrificial element, even offensively, around. All good teams have them. And championship teams definitely have them, and they're needed if the top guys are playing. If the top guys are playing, those guys look a lot better, because, like, I was doing a show yesterday for I was featured on, what was it, In the Know, and Lau was on there from Australia. Shout out to Lau. Lau called Dyson Daniels truffle. He says that he called him truffle because he says he enhances everything around him. But if you just eat, but it's a reason that it's you know what I'm saying? It's truffle, but it's not. You wouldn't eat truffle by itself. By itself, it's totally different. But if you put it with some fries, it's a little different. The fries need to be available.
That goes right into our show. Like, you don't just eat spice. You ain't just in the cabinet eating spice. You ain't in the cabinet just eating herb. Like, you gotta put it on something. You gotta flavor something. Like, it is a flavor enhancer. These two are flavor enhancers. Zion, B.I., CJ, this is the flavor. They can't be out there just, people out there just, no. Y'all the main dish. They just trying to add some flavor. That's been another episode.
Y'all can hit from DraftKings.
Oh, man, I ain't even ready.
NBA fans, the wait is over. Basketball's back, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, is celebrating with an unbeatable offer. New customers can score $200 instantly in bonus bets for throwing down $5 on the NBA. Win or lose, it doesn't matter. You'll start the season with an instant dub. Basketball's more fun when you're in on the action. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code BOOT. New customers can get $200 in bonus bets instantly for betting just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code BOOT. The crown is yours.
That's been another episode of Propels Talk. Running it with my guy Chris, Herb and Spices. Wednesday, we got a game in Memphis. Your boy gonna be there. Yeah. Shout out to the M. Hope I find me some good barbecue or something like that. We'll see about it. Y'all be cool.